I have two questions. One, what exactly is an industry plant? And two, which artists are the industry plants? I hate how difficult it is to get an answer to either of these questions, and frankly, I feel like it shouldn't be so hard considering how quick everyone is to throw around these kinds of accusations. And that's just not gonna cut it for what is supposedly a flat earth, fake moon landing, chemtrails level conspiracy. If you want me to believe you, my questions are gonna have to be answered. When you look up what is an industry plant, you get 30 different articles which are all saying completely different things. Even the Wikipedia page is vague and wordy. It's so bad that most of the debate online is over who has the correct definition. The only way that we're going to get anywhere is by looking at the artists that people label as industry plants to hopefully get an idea of what it actually means. Tyla is the brand new Grammy Award-winning pop sensation who blew up overnight, and people have been quick to call her an industry plant. So, how did she get famous so fast? From what we've been allowed to know, Tyla started writing music and posting it on Instagram and YouTube when she was in high school around 2017. She would routinely send these songs to artists and big-name agents to try and get noticed, and eventually it worked, as manager/videographer Garth Von Glenn got on board. Garth was able to get her in the studio recording music throughout her senior year of high school and into 2019 after she graduated. So, in late 2019, her debut single, Getting Late, was released, and a year later the music video followed. But if you think these numbers are impressive for a brand new artist, her fourth single, Water, is where things really pop the fuck off. Receiving history-making awards, friendzoning Kai Cenat, and topping the charts multiple times. She's done it all. The question is, why exactly do people think she's an industry plant? With Tyla, it appears to be the classic case of she had it too easy. Specifically, she had it too easy for someone who has claimed to start in a Justin Bieber type way, where you send your music out onto the internet and pray. Because plenty of people write original music and post it to Instagram and YouTube. A fair few of those people are also delusional. They'll send it to every artist or agent they can think of in hopes of a response. But an unfathomably small number of them ever see any success from it. Tyla, being the one in a million that was able to pull it off, has raised a heaping helping of suspicion. Also, this manager we're talking about, Garth Von Glenn, may have been looking to craft the next female pop idol, maybe even one of South African descent, as weird as that sounds. Before working with Tyla, Glenn was romantically involved with another South African R&B artist named Sho Majozi, and the duo was starting to see some real success. When they broke up, however, Tyla was quick to take Sho Majozi's place. Maybe in more ways than one. This has led people to conclude that maybe Tyla isn't the homegrown, Justin Bieber-esque star we thought she was. This could have been anyone, not just Tyla. Maybe the industry saw Garth's idea for the next female pop idol and thought it would be good optics to pour all the resources they have into making Tyla go viral. And this is all just made worse by the fact that that first song, Getting Late, wasn't seeing great numbers before the music video dropped. So people didn't really see anything special about her music until the social media push happened. So I'll admit, conspiracy or not, the reasoning does make some amount of sense. Assuming all of this stuff is true, there are holes in her story which leave room for lizard people, UFOs, whatever you want, really. But just calling those holes out isn't enough to convince me that there's a bunch of industry puppets that are crawling around everywhere. Luck is always going to be hard to explain, guys. I mean, this could just be one example of an artist who got massively popular through just sheer luck. I mean, realistically, it's fine to let this kind of thing slide. I mean, there's no way there could be another example in recent times of this same thing happen. 4Bats is another artist who seemingly fell out of the sky already famous, and this has obviously made him a target for industry plant allegations. So, where did he come from? Well, we actually don't know much about this guy. He started making music in 2023 with his debut single, Act 1, Stickers 99. He then blew up with his very next single, Act 2, Date at 8, the now infamous TikTok sound. And it was after his third single, Act 3, On God, that he was noticed by the softest lips in the game, Drake. What is it, the brains? Who signed him to his record label, OVO Sounds. His first full-length project, You Made Me Star, I think, just got released in May of 2024, and it has been a pretty big success. He's up to 9 million monthly listeners as of recording this video, which is obviously pretty impressive for a brand new artist. But do not get it twisted, monthly listeners do not depict just how relevant this guy has been. The biggest thing that contributed to this guy's come up was his social media presence. Massive creators like Kai Cenat, Your Rage, No Life Shaq, and Plaqueboy Max all reacted to his music videos. Why? Well, because of the flat-out ridiculous contrast between between his very apparent thug appearance and his heaven-sent vocals. Okay, why do people think this guy is an industry plant? Well, the Forbat situation is similar to Tyla's. He did have it suspiciously easy. I did leave out that he got noticed by a big-time manager named Amber Ahe from his SoundCloud. And this does start to diminish from the independent or self-made image that him, or I guess his team, have tried to portray. But that's not even the whole narrative. The big difference between him and Tyla is that massive wave of social media attention that we just talked about. The question is, why did all of these streamers choose 4Bats as the thing to freak out about and hype up? These streamers' time is very valuable. Content creation and streaming is pretty much the highest level of exposure you can get these days. They must know ahead of time that just putting these music videos on screen is gonna send a lot of eyes his way. And it has been confirmed that 4Bats paid for promotion, at least at some point. This guy made a TikTok detailing the whole situation. Kind of a step in the wrong direction. Okay, I think I follow. So an industry plant is any artist who got shoved down our throats through a massive social media budget that was provided by a label or the industry at large. But we're already running into issues. These narratives that people are believing on the internet have no real way to be verified. As of right now, the only thing separating this stuff from a massive large-scale conspiracy like flat Earth is a lack of certainty. We know the Earth isn't flat because we aren't cavemen anymore and have done detailed research. The only thing letting flat earthers hold on to their belief is willful ignorance and blind faith. But unlike that, we don't actually know for sure how 4Bats got to where he is now, and we may never know. And that is what allows for people's imaginations to run wild. That being said, these are very new examples that are fairly similar to each other. I imagine a lot of people aren't even aware that these artists are being called industry plants yet. The last thing I would want to do is misrepresent what these Redditors are claiming. So, we'll have to look at a more widely accepted example. Billie Eilish, Pirate Baird O'Connell, started making music at age 11. Yes, that's her real name. Both of Billie's parents are actors, so she was homeschooled and encouraged to be creative. Her brother Phineas was treated the same way, and both of their interests ended up landing on music. They collaborated on a few singles here and there during their upbringing, but for the most part, they had separate budding careers. However, that would change in 2015. Phineas wrote a song for his band, which did not include Billie, but realized how perfect it would be for her voice, so they recorded the now famous song, Ocean Eyes. And after the song got several thousands of streams, Billie got involved with Apple Music and their program for emerging artists. From there, a team was built around her, and she was signed to Interscope and Darkroom Records. So, since Ocean Eyes, her career has been huge. Single after single, album after album, topping the charts consistently. Okay, so why did I just tell you, without your consent, the biography of Billie Eilish? I did that because even Billie Eilish, the Grammy Award-winning global sensation, has been around for many years artist, is not beating the industry plant allegations. First of all, one thing I did skip over is that her team paid for streaming platform promotion. The way her Wikipedia page puts it is that her team worked with Spotify to get her in today's top hits, the biggest playlist on their platform. But the second and way more important thing that people point out about Billie Eilish is her connections, mainly through her family. It's fair to assume that her parents have connections in the music industry, and it may have played a big part in getting her noticed and signed so fast. It's also plainly obvious without any speculation that her brother Phineas got her most of her initial opportunities. Through the manager that he already had, she was given a publicist, a manager of her own, and that initial deal with Apple Music. But even beyond any of that, it's clear that her parents used their resources to get her in the room with important people early on. It's publicly known that she was a background actress in some big movies like Diary of a Wimpy Kid, Ramona and Beezus, and the X-Men. Would they draw the line at hitting up some friends to promote her music, even if it wasn't great? For a long time, nepotism has been a highly discussed topic in music. It's a term used for people who are given jobs or massive handouts by way of having family in that industry. It's a concept that is not at all exclusive to music. That being said, there are plenty of examples of alleged nepo babies in the music industry. Miley Cyrus, Beck, two different members of The Strokes, Coi Leray, to name a few. And when I tell you nepotism is frowned upon, I'm not kidding. People are very quick to discredit these artists' achievements, even if their music is generally loved. And it's hard to really blame them. Naturally, we want to believe that our favorite artist is both relatable and humble. At the very least, just to avoid feeling like a sheep, for lack of a better term. If an artist was handed their career through family connections, it would immediately ruin any chance of them being either of those things. But once again, there's no real way of knowing whether or not Billie Eilish's situation in particular is a case of nepotism. Yeah, it's likely that she was given help by her family, but we don't know how much, and likely never will. The odds that she was predetermined to be this big of a star are so low, and from the industry industry's perspective, the suits controlling all of this, that would be a huge gamble to take anyway. I guess here's the thing. It's possible, in fact, it's pretty likely she was given help from her family, but what good parent or sibling wouldn't? So, hold on, wait a second. The lower the bar gets for an artist being called an industry plant, the less and less this term will actually mean, and the farther we're gonna get from this conspiracy making any sense. If Billie Eilish is being called an industry plant with this little evidence to back it up, who else do you think is planted? Lil Nas X is an artist people seem to have a new opinion about every day, and none of them are ever sane. His career started on the internet, where Lil Nas X, or Montero Hill, ran a Nicki Minaj Twitter fan account. Or X, whatever, it doesn't matter. Not only that, but in his spare time, he would make memes and post short videos to Vine and Facebook. So, between all three of those, Hill was a decently notable internet figure in his respective niches. It was in 2018 that he finally decided to start making music. He would write songs in his closet. And his first mixtape was titled Nazarati. Unfortunately, it didn't do too great. Luckily for him, though, the beat for Old Town Road would soon come across his desk. And by that I mean he bought it anonymously off of the beat-sharing platform BeatStars. And after making some memes to promote the song, it blew the fuck up. All things considered, this come-up is pretty humble. I would go as far to say it's so humble, it's bordering on cringy. Despite that, Lil Nas X is one of the biggest examples of a supposed industry plant. I mean, he's even played into it with his song Industry Baby. And like I said, the reasons as to why are numerous and ever-changing. Firstly, people doubt his self-made and independent image. Holy shit, I'm getting deja vu. This is not a new claim, we've seen it already, but while it made a modicum of sense with Eilish or Tyla, here it is flat out wrong and misinformed. I think that story says enough about how self-made this guy really is. After doing a tour of every other internet career, he started making music in his closet, both literally and metaphorically. But if you want to get down to specifics, Old Town Road, the song which obviously put him on the map, was released independently, and the promotion for the song was also done all by him through his specialty of internet memes that got picked up by social media. And when you start to look at these other industry plans with the same critical lens to the claims against them, things start to fall apart a little bit. Don't worry, we'll get back to Lil Nas X in a second. Sexy Red is new to the hip-hop scene, so we really only have the Spark Notes version of her come-up. She started by writing a diss track on her ex-boyfriend in high school. She was given the name Sexy Red from her dyed red hair and raunchy persona, and then she started making music on SoundCloud in 2018 with 1,000 Jugs, and in 2023 her song Pound Town went viral. She's had a number of big features like Tay Keith, Annalise Choppa, Nicki Minaj, and Drake, and has released critically acclaimed albums. All pretty normal stuff, albeit a quick start. However, people have taken it upon themselves to throw every industry plant allegation on her name. According to the internet, it makes no sense as to why she would be portraying herself as independent and self-made. Only an artist who is signed and backed by an entire team could ever be this popular this fast. In fact, some web detectives go as far to do their own digging, look up her Wikipedia page, and find out, oh my god, she is signed. But let me just spare you all of this grief. Her past records have been made and distributed through record companies, yes, but these are small companies that are identified as independent record labels. Labels which don't get involved past just distribution and advertising. These companies offer contracts which are usually intended to help the artist and work in tandem with them instead of hire and exploit them. It's a growing trend in the music industry, so I don't blame people for not being informed. But just because you don't understand how these systems work doesn't make it evidence that you can tack on to her being an industry plant. Just like how me seeing really far doesn't make the earth flat. And just like flat earth, individuals being naive and then misinforming others isn't just neutral to the issue, it's a detriment. For Sexy Red, the label that she has worked with most closely is Gamma Records, a record company which was founded with the goal of making a small-scale competitor to the big-name labels, as well as promote black artists. Instead of shitting on Sexy Red for signing to a label, we should be applauding the good people that she worked with in hopes that more artists choose them in the future. But there's another thing that people have put on Sexy Red that is a whole lot weirder. God, where did this all go so wrong? Now, I understand this is going to sound a little weird coming from the polar opposite of Sexy Red just as a person, but people have claimed that she was crafted by the industry to break down and dismantle the black woman image. Now, it's one thing to dislike an artist for their persona, their message, or their morals. If you think that Sexy Red is damaging to black women and society, I am in no place to speak on that, or judge you, or convince you otherwise. But to assume that she's acting based on what a record company or the industry is making her do is a little out of touch. Why would they want to do that? What does anybody gain from pushing that kind of narrative, especially through trap music? Just think about how impractical it would be for the industry to invest in this kind of propaganda machine. If it fell flat with people, that would be a colossal fuck up. But in an unfortunate way, this brings us right back to Lil Nas X. The schizo theories online are that Lil Nas X was sent here to push an agenda about homosexuality and Satanism. First of all, if the industry really wanted us to be gay and worship Satan, I do not think they would send someone who ran a Nicki Minaj Twitter fan account. But second of all, in the hypothetical situation where they are trying to brainwash everyone, what do they get out of that? I think it goes without saying that the type of industry plant that we talked about a few minutes ago is a whole lot more practical from the industry's perspective than this is. An artist like Tyla, an album-selling machine, is a whole lot more profitable for the big labels than some music politician. Trust me, those exist. They suck. This all seems to be getting so far out of control. First, they claim you're just fake independent. Next, they're claiming you're a walking propaganda machine. I do not envy these artists' position, but it doesn't end there. Something I saw quite often was people doubting how Lil Nas X could ever get this famous while making music this bad. Obviously, the glaring issue here is that is a subjective opinion and in no way concrete evidence. There's no one telling people they have to enjoy this music. He reaches an audience which actually enjoys what he makes, as hard as that might be to wrap your head around. Just because you think Lil Nas X or Sexy Red makes bad music, that doesn't mean everyone also thinks that. And I can't believe I have to say this. But I forgot. All of those streams are bots and AI. That's my bad. And sometimes, this alone is enough for you guys to call someone an industry plant. Apparently, Jack Harlow's story is something to debate over on the internet. People are skeptical of how he was able to get this famous while making mostly frat rap, a subgenre led by white guys and meme rappers that is generally agreed to be corny. But I'd hate to break it to you, dude. He's not making music for you. Do I need to bring up the lyrics to Lovin' On Me? It's undeniable that Jack Harlow is a woman magnet, and his music does tend to be targeted to a slightly more female audience. Does that mean Jack Harlow is brainwashing women? No, shut up, stop it. Again, just because you hate this music, that doesn't mean everybody else also hates this music. He hit an audience that isn't being brainwashed or controlled by the industry, but likes his style of music or his persona, whatever it is. I mean, if we're gonna go around claiming that every artist with a mysterious past who makes music that I don't like is an industry plant, they all might as well be plants. No, you know what? After all this, I'm so curious. Who else do you guys think are industry plants? No, I'm really serious. Fuck the questions. Show me. Okay, so I got the answers to my questions. What is an industry plant? Any artist who has a social media budget behind them, has connections in the industry, makes bad music that I don't like, or has been sent here to push some ideological agenda for whatever reason. And which artists are the industry plants? Everyone. Every single last artist that has ever been listened to by anyone has been planted. I'm obviously being facetious, but I'm just trying to point out how ridiculous this has actually gotten. Like I talked about with Sexy Red, this kind of conspiracy talk only gets us farther away from the music industry that we all do want to see. Because when it comes down to it, when it's separated from that highly bloated definition I just gave, the industry plant conversation points out some real relevant issues. For example, probably one of the most discussed cases of an industry plant in the past few years has been Clairo. As is becoming a pattern here, she started making music in high school with a Maroon 5 cover that she posted to Facebook. Then, throughout high school, she would perform cover songs at local businesses. At the same time, she was recording original music which she posted to Bandcamp and later YouTube and SoundCloud under the names DJ Baby Benz and Clairo. Eventually, her single Pretty Girl got her noticed by a slew of record companies, and she landed on Fader Records. And she started to see some real success after being signed. She started a tour opening for Dua Lipa, she performed at Coachella and Lollapalooza, and released her project Immunity in 2019. But where the internet, and I, get suspect of her is her dad. Hey, yo, what the I can explain. This guy's not only an ex-executive at Rubber Tracks, Converse's record company, but also some marketing and advertising agencies in music. I know I was quick to defend Billie Eilish and her nepotism allegations, but this is kind of where I have to draw the line. Billie Eilish was an example of a massive artist who got their past dug up to fit an already growing narrative. In reality, she was making pop music to try and get on the radio, and got on the radio by any means necessary. Pop music generally relies on advertising and promotion, and I'm not sure we should hold every artist to the standard of Lil Nas X. Clairo was and still is making indie pop, a genre synonymous with being relatable, humble, and small scale. Shit, the closest genre is literally titled bedroom pop. It's clear this stuff relies on its aesthetic. And her dad does seem to be the perfect resource to get out of that small scale restraint. She is one of very few indie artists that have been able to stay in the mainstream for this long. It feels much more violating as the listener to learn about this stuff when you've always associated that artist with being bedroom made. There are so many fans who want to be just like Clairo and are releasing music to try and be, all because they think her career is attainable. She just started writing songs in her bedroom, right? And again, I don't know for sure if Clairo was planted by those labels and companies that approached her, but either way, this is an important thing to talk about. Nepotism is a problem in the music industry, and that's not the only alleged industry plant I think is worth talking about. Do you guys remember the Kid Laroi? Yeah, I'm not surprised. Pretty much the sole reason he became popular in the first place was through his connections to late rapper Juice WRLD, and he intended to milk that. After moving from Australia to America to be in the studio with him, making several songs together and bragging about it pretty much everywhere, the Kid Laroi finally became a name people recognized. But even though he had been riding the coattails of Juice WRLD, an emo rap SoundCloud artist, he still saw success making pop music. See, the Kid Laroi is what is known as a feature artist, someone who is far better known for their appearances on other people's songs than their individual projects. The Kid Laroi started in that SoundCloud rap bubble that he used to get to where he was, but as time passed, he slowly drifted more and more out of it, eventually not even featuring on hip-hop songs at all. His biggest song has Justin Bieber front and center. He abandoned his emo rap origins, which he had to cling on to so desperately to gain his notoriety. So people were pretty quick to call the Kid Laroi an industry plant, regardless of his come-up, which is actually pretty humble, all because of people not liking his music and his obvious connections that he used to get famous. And while it's pretty much verifiable that he's not an actual plant, it's still important to call out this sort of distasteful dick riding. It's issues like these that make me question why the conversation always gets dragged into this conspiracy, Lil Nas X was sent here to make us gay dialogue. And I do understand it may seem like I'm contradicting myself. So you believe that Clairo got popular through nepotism and the Kid Laroi abused his connections to get famous, but you don't think they're industry plants? Here's the separation though. The implication of an industry plant is far more dramatic and cookie cutter than these specific situations tend to be. While both of these make me equally uncomfortable, they aren't these perfect pop stars that were designed in a lab that have been shoved down our throats since day one. They have unique origin stories and their own struggles. They're actual people, not full-blown industry robots. My point is that it's much more productive to treat these situations independently on a case-by-case basis than it is to try to fit as many artists as possible under this conspiracy umbrella. Now, that being said, I won't sit here and tell you I don't have my own suspicions. I dislike the internet's narratives and their willingness to jump on every new artist, yes. However, simultaneously, I do not think it's outside the realm of possibility that labels craft artists to be people's favorites. Olivia Rodrigo, a case of a supposed industry plant that people have kind of forgotten about, but I kind of want to investigate it. She started as a child actress, not a musician originally. Her first role was an Old Navy commercial in 2010, and then by 2015, she had the lead role in the direct-to-video film American Girl, Grace Stirs Up Success. In 2016, her family moved to LA because she was given the lead role in the new Disney Channel kids comedy Bizaardvark, the same one that birthed Jake Paul. And in February of 2019, she landed another starring role in High School Musical, The Series. And this role would lead her to write the first song that people would hear from her. All I Want was used in the promotional campaign for the series. And after leaving the show in late 2019, she was picked up immediately by Geffen Records. Her first single was Driver's License, released in 2021, and it went pretty fucking viral. Like, broke the record for most daily streams on a non-holiday song on Spotify twice viral. And the subsequent album release, Sour, was a monumental success. Out of all the other artists that have industry plant allegations, her story is pretty unique. When she got her record deal, she was already famous, granted with an audience a little less mature than her music would end up reaching. But in any case, it's not a surprise as to why she was able to see any amount of success. That doesn't mean it doesn't raise a few points of conversation though. First of all, part of that record deal she signed with Geffen was that she would own all of her masters. For those of you who don't know, getting the masters to all of your songs is a big deal. Whoever holds the master of a song essentially holds the final copyright of that song. They can decide when and where the song is released, how it's used, and who the royalties go to. And 99% of the time, labels will make sure that the masters are a big part of an artist's contract, usually going in the label's favor. Most of the artists that we listen to do not have the mastering rights on all of their music. Many have none. Up until a few years ago, Kendrick Lamar didn't own all of his masters, and still doesn't on his older projects. So for her to get this kind of deal with that little experience in the studio is pretty impressive to say the least. It makes it seem like she had this negotiating power because they knew she wasn't gonna fail. And secondly, the recording process of this album, which started in 2020, well before her career took off, was filmed and turned into a Disney Plus documentary. It is true that people record many parts of their lives these days. I mean, I'm talking to a camera right now, but this does seem like a very planned out step to take. There's an important thing we have to remember from earlier. The industry isn't just going to plant someone for no reason. They want to make a profit. And who's gonna sell more albums to their biggest demographic than someone who's already famous among that demographic of teenagers? And what kind of music does that audience consume the most? Well, if I had to make music for angsty teens in a lab, it would probably sound pretty close to Olivia Rodrigo's music. I'll just say that. And let me be so clear. I like her music. I think Guts and Sour are standout pop albums of the last decade, but that doesn't make her immune to criticism of things outside of her music. And that's where I feel comfortable using the term industry plant. When it's being thrown around like a primate's feces used to diminish an artist's work, it feels a lot less analytical and more emotional. Here, the 100% provable elements of her career outside of just, oh, music bad, must be fake artist, lead me to have some questions. Would the industry not be motivated to boost her career? And Olivia Rodrigo is not the only time that this has happened. Another artist that I've seen very few people talk about is Selena Gomez, someone with a very similar story. She also started as a child actress, and her first role was actually being a kid on Barney and Friends. And her acting career also took off on the Disney Channel, where she had a reoccurring role on Hannah Montana and was given the lead role in Wizards of Waverly Place, the latter of which she was involved in making the soundtrack for. She then signed a lucrative record deal in 2008 in collaboration with the pop rock band The Scene, and another one in 2013 for her solo projects. And since then, she's had a long and highly successful career in both movies and TV and music. With Gomez's story, a lot of my concerns are in the same places. She signed a lucrative record deal in 2008, pretty much just because she asked for it. And a lot of opportunities just seemed to fall into her lap, even before she was guaranteed to be successful. I can't imagine the risk that these companies would have been taking if it truly was just a shot in the dark, hoping that kid they found would be that talented. To be honest, it seems almost obvious that Hollywood would want to foster a second profitable career for an artist who is already famous. They make money if the artist sells albums, and the artist sells albums because they're already famous. There's a chance that it's the same thing as when a celebrity shills a meme coin. Someone approaches them with what seems like free money, and all they have to do is promote it by saying literally anything. The celebrity gets a bag, the people who made it get a slightly larger bag, rinse and repeat. Only instead of promoting a meme coin, they, or whoever's behind them, writes pop music, and then people listen to it because they're famous. Again, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist, but if you were an industry executive, would you not do that? I mean, who's stopping you? By the most elementary definition, Selena Gomez and Olivia Rodrigo are industry plants. They were brought over to the music industry, whether they wanted to or not, because they were already famous, which is obviously advantageous for those labels that signed them. But let me stress, once again, I am not a conspiracy theorist. Just because I have my suspicions doesn't mean I should go around claiming that every new artist is a plant. Tommy Richmond is not an industry plant just because his story is similar to Four Bats, because Four Bats isn't even confirmed an industry plant. And let me just address the fans of the previous two artists. Even if the chicken thighs that you bought at the store aren't ethically sourced, you're still gonna eat them. Do you wake up every day hoping that the chicken producing industry becomes better? Yeah, but that's not gonna stop that company from selling that chicken, even if it's taking the spot on the shelves of more organic companies. You get the metaphor. Olivia Rodrigo is still making good music, and me having questions about her come up isn't gonna take away from that, and certainly won't stop her from making music in the future. This did not go the way I thought it would, at all. I started by trying to figure out what the internet actually thought an industry plant was. I got a little worked up there for a bit, and now here I am drawing my own conclusions. Listen, I think we have to remember that this is a socially constructed term that means practically nothing. My biggest takeaway here is that regardless of its meaning, most of the time the term is used out of fear. Fear of being duped or looking like a sheep, which, to some extent, I understand. It's hard to explain why some people like an artist that we don't or relate to an artist that we don't. And it is scary to think about all the biggest pop stars being brainwashed and then brainwashing us. If I was to get caught up on those details, I would probably also be claiming that these massive conspiracies exist. But it's so hard to know if any of this stuff is true, so it's probably better to not even think about it. Out of sight, out of mind. Don't be the boy who cried plant, it's not worth it. So, I think we figured it out. Mystery solved. Let's just all listen to music and be friends. How about that? Real quick, this video is not sponsored, but if you could join my Discord and check out my live streams on Tuesdays and Fridays, 2 p.m. EST here on YouTube, that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you.